Welcome to the Daily Exchange. Guys, we're talking about yield farming here. Some say it's just a new kind of Ponzi scheme, and it's all just one big scam where insiders dump worthless tokens on inexperienced outsiders. Others say it's the way of the future. Some say it's just a meme, or, I guess to get people excited about crypto. Others say it's a whole new paradigm. All of these are true in their own way. One thing everyone can agree on, though, is that yield farming has been insanely, almost disturbingly profitable for a lot of people. The yields and the farming mania have died down a lot compared to their peak, but it's still driving significant returns on crypto. So we're going to answer a few questions here. Number one, what is yield farming? Two, what are the risks of yield farming? How can it all go horribly wrong, like that? How do you yield farm? And where do you even begin? Okay, so let's start. What is yield farming? Yield farming is when you stake assets in order to provide liquidity and earn extra rewards for doing so. Basically, you deposit funds into a smart contract and earn rewards on your deposit. These rewards come from two main sources. The first is whatever your money is doing while locked in that contract. For example, if you deposit funds into a liquidity pool that's used for trading, your funds can earn a cut of the revenue from any trading fees the pool gets. That's all pretty normal and reasonable. Now, the second source of returns, though, which is usually much larger than the first, is the bonus cryptocurrency that some smart contracts will give to depositors. Now, whenever you see a yield farm delivering returns that look way too good to be true, it's because this bonus cryptocurrency is being factored into the calculations. The point of this bonus cryptocurrency is to attract new users and get more people making deposits. With more deposits and more money, an application can go, absolutely crazy, right? Real wild. And we've seen some incredible growth. So these applications will just create their own brand, new cryptocurrency, and give it away for free to its users. Now, these bonus reward periods are typically very brief, usually lasting just a few days or a couple of weeks at most. In that way, it's kind of like a rideshare company giving people discounts on their first trip, or a bank offering bonus interest on savings accounts. It's just an extra incentive to attract new users. But because this is crypto, we're talking about, it's a little crazier for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because these applications can choose to create and give away as many of these tokens as they want. It doesn't cost them anything. The tokens are just printed out of thin air. The second reason is because these tokens can be traded on the open market as soon as they're publicly available. So as long as people are willing to buy them, they keep being worth something. Put these two together, and you have a situation where yield farmers can provide liquidity to different platforms in order to get enormous amounts of free tokens, which they can turn around and sell for big profits. So long as people are willing to buy these tokens, these mind-boggling returns are actually very possible. The bulk of most ridiculous returns is coming from the pocket of anyone who buys these tokens. That's basically yield farming in a nutshell. The farmers get lots of tokens for free, and then they sell these tokens for big profits. So the big question we need to ask ourselves then, because these tokens are being given away for free, is who keeps buying them and why? There are a few answers to that question. One big group of buyers, unfortunately, is people who are being misinformed or misled or otherwise just making plain bad decisions, often helped along by yield farmers who need someone to buy their crops. This is often the case when people want to get into a trendy, farmable token, but just don't have, the know-how to farm it. When we're talking about yield farming, you can't escape the fact that a lot of it is outright Ponzi schemes, scams, and whales looking for new ways to enrich themselves at your expense. Other buyers are more strategic, though. Yield farmers themselves will sometimes risk buying the token in order to farm even higher returns from that token. Pickle token farmers, for example, get paid significantly more on a pickle token deposits than others, which has undoubtedly led many people to buy pickle tokens for farming purposes. Now, these buyers can increase their farming yield, but take on as much greater risk in the process of doing this, right? And they could well join the list of a pickle victim if things go wrong. And the third and perhaps rarest type of buyer is the one who sees something in a token that the yield farmers don't, or who judges the farm token to be a good longer term purchase as it's currently under or lower priced. While most yield farming tokens quickly plunge to zero, there are a handful of exceptions such as YFI, where buying tokens from farmers turned out to be a good bet. The vast majority of yield farming tokens are utterly worthless, but a very, very small handful of them might one day go on to become extremely valuable. As a general rule though, the average lifespan of a yield farm is measured in days. It's much better to be a seller than a buyer in this part of crypto world. Of course, being a farmer is risky too. As a farmer, you're also at risk of a token market crash, especially if you double down on a farming token as well, rather than just selling your farming products. There's also the very real chance of pouring money into an outright scam while missing the safer options. Yield farming is a place where returns of 3% per day are not automatically a red flag, where many founders prefer to remain anonymous and where perfectly legitimate projects can be named after foods. If you plan on yield farming, you're going to have to recalibrate your scam radar. Instead of going with your gut or looking at the typical warning signs, it's more important to look at the actual smart contracts in detail. If you can, to see if the developers have left any sneaky backdoors there, or to make sure, I guess they can't steal your deposits. Accidental bugs can be just as dangerous, and several farms have abruptly collapsed in the face of previously undiscovered bugs. Yield farm smart contracts typically aren't formally audited before going live, and the number of one priority among both developers and farmers is being as fast as possible. Accidents happen everywhere, but they can happen at exceptionally high rates in the world of yield farming. And then there's impermanent loss, which refers to the price risk you face while your cryptocurrency is deposited in a liquidity pool. Basically, if cryptocurrency prices rise while your crypto is in liquidity pool, you typically won't capture the full benefits. In many cases, even with considerable yields, it will be far more profitable to simply hold and do nothing with your crypto rather than put it in a pool. It's also worth remembering that at the end of the day, yield farming is like a competitive sport. The farmers compete against each other and against the market, and crypto newcomers will find themselves at a major disadvantage against more experienced players. The whole idea of investment is that the risks are commensurate to the rewards. Try to imagine how much risk is needed to justify the insanely high yield farming rewards, and you probably have a good sense of how dangerous it can be. At the end of the day, managing the risk is what decides whether yield farming makes someone a fortune or makes them, lose their money. But if you do want to try it, where do you begin? How to yield farm? The exact process of yield farming will vary depending on which crop you're looking at. But there are two things you will always need. The first is your own personal cryptocurrency wallet. You need to get your crypto off exchanges and onto your own wallet before interfacing with farming apps. And the second is the correct cryptocurrencies to farm whatever crops have caught your eye. The exact type will vary depending on what you want to farm, but Ethereum is currently the most important and widely used for yield farming. Often, you'll need more than one kind. If you wanted to farm Saki tokens, for example, which would probably be a terrible idea right now, you'd need to choose which liquidity pool to join and which cryptocurrencies to use for farming. The exact procedures will also be different depending on what you're trying to farm. Now let's continue with this, say, Saki swap. As an example, steps to start farming, it would involve depositing a cryptocurrency pair into a Uniswap liquidity pool, and then depositing your Uniswap liquidity pool tokens into Saki swap. There is no one way of farming, and if you're thinking seriously about it, you'll need to look at the steps on a case-by-case basis. It's also important to remember the gas costs. So if you're farming on Ethereum blockchain, where most of the action is, you need to be prepared to spend the equivalent of hundreds of dollars in Ethereum gas fees, making it very easy for smaller farmers to lose money even if they're otherwise made all the right choices. And that's basically yield farming. Free tokens, incredible risks, mind-blowing returns, Ponzi's, pickles, and scammers, all rolled together into a ball of chaos and put behind a wall that you can only climb with a solid level of cryptocurrency experience. Fortunately, you don't actually have to climb that wall and wade into the ball of chaos to get a cut of the yield farming returns. Yield aggregators like Yearn.finance and dashboards like Zapper.fi present a much easier, cheaper, and safer way of accessing yield farming returns. You won't be able to access any of those ultra high risk crazy farms with them, and still need a bit of crypto know-how if you want to use them, but the returns are still good compared to anything in traditional finance. You can find them at yearn.finance or zappa.fi. Just remember that those are still experimental works in progress. You're using them entirely at your own risk, and there is still a chance of your funds going missing with them, so exercise extreme caution. Another even safer and easier option to consider is Binance Launch Pool. As you can see, the returns are pretty solid. It's all done through the Binance Exchange, which lets you completely sidestep all the hardest parts of yield farming, and you can just use it like any other exchange. The main downsides are that you won't get the same level of control, choice of assets, or flexibility as you can with on-chain aggregators like yearn.finance, which can limit the yields, I guess, a bit. But it's still miles ahead of any of the returns you'll get in traditional finance. It's definitely one of the easiest and safest options for upsizing your return on deposits. At the time of filming, right now, Binance Launch Pool has only been live for about a week, so it's all still brand new, and you're not going to find anything like it on any other exchanges. If that sounds like your kind of thing, you can check out our Binance review at Finder or use the link in the video description to head straight there. Go to finder.com and obviously search for Binance.